hotter the conflict, the greater the triumph.
A fiercest serpent may be overcome by a swarm of ants.
Lead me, follow me, or get out of my way. Age wrinkles the body, quitting wrinkles the soul.
Battle buddies.
Battle
Two.
buddies. Part 2.
Are we going to start with me closing my eyes and imagining I'm somewhere this time? Imagine you're in the middle of a movie.
I don't have that. That was good. I like that.
Yeah. It's going to be hard. This is like a Game of Thrones moment, a red wedding in Game of Thrones moment. How are you going to handle episode 2?
Yeah, we have some shit to cover in episode 2. It's going to get bloody.
Tell me everything.
Well, before we go into that, one of the major themes of this series, like this section, because we're going through books like 4 to 8 today, is this concept that's in like all these cultures and it's everywhere, except for that I was trying to find like modern versions of it and I don't really see it. It like looks different. So I'm wondering if maybe through your understanding of sports ball, maybe we can figure this out. So the term in Greek is called arete. Arete.
Arete.
Arete.
Okay.
And it means like glory, like courage, bravery, ingenuity, flexibility. So this is the Greek ideal. This is if you're a soldier, you're a hoplite or something, and you're in battle and like you're going off, like all of a sudden it clicks and you're just like slaying foes. They're like, oh shit, he's having his arete moment, like his glorious moment.
Is it spiritual at all?
Well, that's what I want to get into. This is the part that we're in today. I don't see it the same way because we'll talk about the complications of the Greek part of it being spiritual, but I'll just say, yes, it's kind of like a divinity moment. And you can trace this to a Roman god named Virtus, virtue, similar idea, right? Like, especially military virtue or like, strength-based virtue. And I was thinking about how else it works in other cultures. I got this idea from, again, the lady who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. She talks about like the muses and the walls and stuff. And she talked about a similar concept. I did a little research on it. So in some cultures, everyone's dancing, right? You're just in like a big circle, having a good time. And one person just starts to like, they fucking feel it, like they figure out how to skank. And they're like, oh shit, he can skank? And what would happen is like, if you're feeling it and it's working and everyone's like, ooh, get it. Everyone starts chanting. Do you know what they chant? Have you heard about this before, this type of dancing? They would chant Allah, 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 Allah. Because you are like embodying God in that moment. Like you having this divine moment, your God-given skills.
Yeah, I believe like even in the Bible, right, when it talks about worship, it just says that you need to make a joyful noise unto him.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that's an interesting...
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
I love it.
Why don't I hear that? I like that one a lot. Okay, we won't get into that.
That's a different episode entirely.
So this changed, this word, Allah, but the Arabic word for God, right, Allah. But it gets changed and morphed as, for however many years, all these places were colonized. And then eventually we get a word that sounds a lot like Allah. And it happens when you are wearing red and a fancy hat and a little sword. And some like little pokey things, and there's some wild animals. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Alas.
No, I'm talking about matadors.
Oh, okay.
Right? Matadors fighting their bulls.
I thought you were talking about a word that was being said.
Oh, sorry. Well, so what's the word that a matador says when they like beat the bull? When the bull comes and they trick the bull and the bull runs past them, they say something every time.
I don't know.
Ole.
Ole.
Ole. Ole. Ole. Ole. Right?
Got it.
And
that's where that originates.
And that word comes from, there's some controversy, but that word's Allah. It's the same word. Yeah, so he's having a divine moment.
I didn't know that.
His divine, like his God-given skills.
Okay, let me ask some white people questions here real quick. Let's do it. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but ole, 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 that is sung in sporting events, no?
Yes.
Like soccer?
Yes.
Okay.
God-given skills.
Okay.
Now, it's popular connotations of it, right? It's popular usage. Usage changes over time. I bet if you were to pull a drunk out of a bar with their football match on, and you're like, "What does Olay mean?" And they're like, "I don't know. It's cool. It means they're doing good, right?" I think that's what you'd probably get. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't negate the history of it. This is what I like about words and etymology is just because we use it and don't necessarily know exactly where it comes from doesn't mean that it came from nowhere. So a lot of times means it came from somewhere very profound, and the word is profound, and we're using it in a profound way, even if we're not aware of how that profoundness works.
Agreed.
Yeah. Fucking dope, right?
Yeah, words are communication's crazy, dude.
So so the recent event that I was thinking about this, like when we should have all started chanting Allah or like Arete, or we should have started saying Olay, is Steph Curry at the freaking Olympics, sinking all those threes. Like it was a God-given skill moment, right? Like
okay.
He's so talented. LeBron's talented, and I forget the guy who was playing on France, but like that guy was super talented. And there's all this talent and technique, and they all work so hard. But then Steph Curry just does something that they can't do that day. Like a muse is singing to him that day. He has a divine moment.
Okay, so there's examples of this all over sports.
Right.
So the Atlanta Braves fans, when there's like a really intense moment in the game, they'll all do the karate chop. Excuse me, not the karate.
The karate chop.
The tomahawk chop.
Oh, okay. Not problematic at all. I love it.
Well, they do it.
Yeah.
And there's some.
It's fine.
There's some implications there for sure. Other times, so the 49ers, we live in the Bay Area, sort of. But when they get a first down, the whole crowd goes, "Ooh, ooh,
I like that."
Like from 300.
Yeah.
So there's examples of it for sure.
But I just mean, like, when I hear kids talk about basketball, for example, they talk about it as like a personal thing that Steph Curry did. Right. And that's what the argument's over. It's like, is he him kind of thing. Right. But it's not about like, are they just being blessed with this moment? Like, is this a divine moment? Is this a God-given moment? And I know that I'm not the most like spiritual person a lot of time, but I like that a lot. It helps both parties. Right.
So you would say that we in our culture kind of view Steph Curry as an accumulation of practice and skill and all these things,
and
rather
some
than
luck, maybe.
Ole
But
moment.
there's no like higher order thing happening here.
Divine intervention.
Right, exactly. Which I get, because atemporal creatures can't operate within temporal creatures. My whole problem with God interacting with us. But it's fun. It's fun to have like these demi spirits that we can talk to.
It is fun.
Because this is core.
That's why most people subscribe to an idea like this.
Well, but we can't in a lot of the ways that I would want to. Because I want like secular spiritualism. If I could control schools, it would be secular spiritualism. Because it'd be this kind of shit, right? Like there's something beyond us that's like singing through us. Like Korah, right? The whole idea of you get inspired by doing work and by letting yourself be inspired, and like that whole idea. But you got to be careful, because like right now I can't go to a class and teach like that, because it starts sounding like really preachy really quickly, even though I'm not, if you're carefully examining what I'm saying, because like I don't believe it, right? I'm just using it as a mechanism to get products out. It's interesting.
It is interesting.
And I like the idea of us not, we put all that weight on Steph Curry. What if he doesn't do it again, right? Then that's his fault, because it's not divine. It's not a freak moment. It's his fault. People
get weird though. Specifically baseball, they're very superstitious in baseball.
They are.
Yeah.
They almost...
Does that play into... Is that rubbing elbows with this divineness that you speak of?
I think it is.
Dude, people also get weird as fans. Like, when we were watching the last Super Bowl, I had a bunch of 49er fans over, myself included, and like, one of the last plays, if everyone remembers the game, it came down to the last play, and I had moved something on the table, and everyone was like, "Move it back! Move it back!" Like,
whoa, I don't remember that.
They thought it mattered.
Whoa.
Because human beings try to make connections in really weird ways.
Oh, I left before the end of that game.
You did. It was a smart move.
That's such a me move.
It's a good move. You don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of...
No, I didn't want to get stuck in traffic of Super Bowl fans.
Vacaville traffic.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, I can get on the road when no one's on the road. And I can get home and put my kids to bed on time.
Yeah.
So,
all right, insert some Kevin guitar. Bring, bring, bring.
Jesus. book 4, reminders of what was happening. Menelaus and Paris were kind of fighting, and then it was the lame shit of Paris getting whisked away before he could get killed. And then that dude shot an arrow at Menelaus. And that's kind of where we left. So, did we talk about the poison arrow last time? I think we did. About poison.
I believe so.
So Agamemnon freaks out. Menelaus gets hit with this arrow.
Mm-hmm.
All these armies are here. I have a picture here. It's a map. I created it on my PlayStation. Definitely not while partaking in legal libations. Because there's no good maps. And my wife felt bad, and so she's going to draw better maps for the next episode. But for now, we have this really, really accurate battle here. And if you're watching the video, I can describe it for you as well. But if you're watching the video, you can see it. Basically, what we have here is that the Greeks have gone past the rivers, past the forest, and then are now face to face with a skirmish line of Trojans before the Trojan city. The big difference here that I want people to focus on is from the descriptions, what I understood is that the Greeks are in a tight phalanx right now. Like, they are there. They do have some chariots, I think. But overall, like, their soldiers are in this phalanx. Remember last time we talked about how they set up their each tribe is supposed to be protecting the other one. In a phalanx, this makes a lot of sense, right? Mm-hmm. You want to be able to trust the guy next to you. The Trojans, we haven't really talked about this, but their army isn't very big by itself. Like, the Trojan army itself isn't very big. It's implied that the Trojan sphere of influence is very big. And so they are able to conscript a lot of soldiers from different various armies.
Got it.
Now, part of this is probably true, and I bet this is more true of the Greeks. It's just when Homer's telling it, he's making them sound dope. The other part is that it makes good storytelling, because then you can have like crazy soldiers that are doing crazy things. But it very much is a skirmish line compared to a phalanx, I would say. Okay, so Menelaus is hit. It doesn't sound like it should be that big of a deal, but I read a little bit from the translator that I'm using right now, and he was talking about how it's interesting how many lines get dedicated to Agamemnon freaking out about this and like sucking the wound and getting like medical officers over there in time. And it makes me think that there was a culture of using poison arrows and always a fear when you get hit with an arrow, no matter anywhere, did that fucker poison that one?
That's a common thing, huh?
It's common enough to be, it's one of those hard things. Is this a storytelling moment? Like, is this a soap opera amnesia moment, right? However, in soap opera, every character gets amnesia at some point to keep the story going. Is it that? Or is this something that was so common that they just put it in there because everyone will get this? Because everyone's afraid of this.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah, that's hard.
But those are fun things to think about.
It feels like a story device. That's how it feels. A poisoned arrow feels a little bit like a red apple.
Okay, but I think, how little would it take to poison an arrow?
Totally, but
I feel like any arrow is slightly poisonous, as I don't want them in my body.
Sure. Or the longer it's been sitting around, the more likely it's to be rusted or have bullshit on it.
They're not taking care of the arrowhead. They're like, I hope this shit is rusted over.
Man, interesting. I don't know. I just feel like we would hear more intense stories about poisoned arrows if it were a thing.
Okay.
Like, yeah. You know, after Rasputin got in the river, they shot some poison arrows.
Or is it something that kind of went away?
But why would it go? Because of guns?
Yeah, guns, changing technologies. How many times in guns? What about the sea? Do you know about the Sepoy Rebellion?
Can I ask artificial intelligence this question?
Sure.
Okay. Yes, poisoned arrows were quite common at various points in human history. They were employed by numerous cultures for both hunting and warfare, from the ancient Greeks and Romans to Native American tribes. The use of poison on arrowheads was a tactical advantage. Some notable examples: ancient Greece and Rome. Historians describe the use of poisoned arrows in battles and the recipes for creating these poisons. So, quite common.
Whoa.
Yeah, whoa. We should use that more often. We should figure it out on the spot.
I like this moment for us.
Yeah, no, that was an aha moment. Poison arrows. Turns out that I was wrong.
I was wrong too. I didn't say it was important enough. That's how important. That's how
it's incredibly common.
it was just the thing they all do, and which makes sense, right? You could just dip your arrow in
It
some
does make
dirt
sense.
right before you shoot it,
or shit, or pig shit.
Yeah, literally, shit would work, right? Because how many
100%.
times are dead bodies just thrown in during
Do
sieges?
you want shit in your
No.
bloodstream?
I don't want anything.
No.
Just my blood.
Yeah, dude. Maybe some
Jesus.
salt to increase that blood pressure. You know what I mean?
Sugar when I'm feeling a little sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Craziness. All right. So Agamemnon's freaking out. So they call the doctor. They're like sucking on the wound. Menelaus is fine.
Did they mention what kind of poison it is, or is this just a generic poison?
So all it really mentioned, the reason why there's even a footnote for it, in that I was kind of going down the rabbit hole, is that not only did they suck out the poison, but they mentioned using medicine from Chiron, right? The hero trainer guy. And so the fact that they're like employing the highest level of medicine shows that like that's how scared they were. Which is interesting.
You said it's what's the gentleman's name?
Chiron.
And he's the what?
He's like the hero trainer. In the Hercules animated movie, that's what.
So the hero trainer who's directly correlated with like military shit would have that kind of stuff really available if it were a common thing, right?
If the Song of Achilles is to be believed, the book that I read for it, which is a modern retelling, and from what I've read on Chiron and all those guys, it sounds like he was also like a medicinal guy. Like he wasn't just like a hero trainer, a trainer of great people, but like a great doctor, like a great a huge knowledge of herbs and like what to use.
Okay, makes sense.
Which would matter on a battlefield, especially during a siege, because there is a forest. I kind of just put some trees here in between the Greek ships and the Trojan like skirmish line. There's supposed to be like this type of forest, and it's implied that that's where the Greeks are getting herbs and stuff to like care for their wounded and get fires. And so there is some kind of natural resources there that they're relying on. Okay, so that happens. The soldiers are going to put on their armor. They're preparing for conflict. Agamemnon, he's eager for conflict. Remember, he just got, in the last episode, Achilles just shit on him so bad about like how much of a baby he is. And he's not the one out there fighting. And we said people like Alexander the Great are reading this and being like, well, I'm not making that mistake. And Agamemnon, to his credit, is also like, I'm not going to make that mistake again. So he wants to get out there. He wants to fight. And he does. He's gonna get out there. So he's on his chariot, he's running around, and he's showing how leadership works. And Homer is showing us like how military leadership is effective. And basically what he does is he rides by some people and he's like, you guys are doing just fine. And then he rides by other people and he's like, if you guys don't fucking shape up, I'm going to stab you with my spear. And if you don't figure this out, like I'm going to burn your ship kind of stuff. So Homer spends a lot of time on this about Agamemnon, sometimes giving kudos, sometimes giving criticism, and kind of showing us that leadership is doing both. And you need to be able to do both. And I like that.
That is cool.
Again, we're seeing why this would be required reading for any general kind of guy.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It gets funny to a moment. So the best Greek is Odysseus. I mean, it's Achilles. Achilles is the strongest, but Odysseus is fun. And Agamemnon calls Odysseus a coward. I don't know why you'd pick a fight with Odysseus. Odysseus is shown to be just the smartest fucking guy out there. And he's like bitingly smart. So I just would not fuck with him. Like he would just be the guy like, what do you think about this kind of thing? Just hoping to get a joke out of it.
Is Odysseus like the Captain America of this crew, would you say?
No, he's too rogue. He's more like an Iron Man kind of guy.
Okay.
I would say.
Okay.
He doesn't want to lead, but he understands what the real problems are.
And he's incredibly intelligent.
And he kind of just does whatever he wants.
Okay.
Like, whenever we cover the Odyssey, my favorite part of the Odyssey right now is probably Odysseus with the sirens, because it just shows, like, his hubris and, like, why Greeks love this type of person. They love the stories of the Arete thing. They want people to be going at their highest level. And so Odysseus learns about sirens, and sirens, if you don't know, you're on a boat, you hear a siren, you either go and crash your boat or you jump into the water and drown. Odysseus is like, I want to fucking hear him. So what does he do? He ties himself to the mast of his boat, to the sail, and then tells his crew members to stuff their ears full of cotton. And he's like, don't untie me. And then he just wants to hear them and not get killed at the end. So he outsmarts their thing, which is cool. Like, that's such a fun character.
Yeah, it's a cool loophole that he found.
And this is why Athene, who's like the Greek god, loves him, because he's just so clever and smart.
Yeah.
But this is a quality that Greeks would want. You want in the Greek culture to be this person. This is the same shit. I don't think we ever really got there with the Caesar series. Next time we do a Roman series, I'm going to make it more of a forefront because I think I learned it too late. But in the Roman culture, it's the same thing. Like, how do you get people like Caesar? Well, your whole culture is based around, like, how far can you push yourself? No, nothing is out of bounds if it's for the glory of our republic or empire. Everything else is fair game. How far can you go? And that's how they're raised with that idea.
Yeah, that's cool.
Very different from us.
I was just gonna say that's
very
not,
different.
Yeah, now it's like how little can you do?
Yes.
To get more.
Yeah, it's either how much can you accrue and hoard?
Yes.
Or how leisurely can you live through your life?
Yes.
And both are noble pursuits, absolutely, in America. But it's not how much shameless power can you gain to further the cause of our nation? That's fucking crazy things to say, right? If you said that and you taught that, that'd be wild.
I do really appreciate the concept of how can you push yourself?
Yeah.
How can you try something harder? Because I feel like that's only welcomed in sports, and even that is hard. Like
even that's hard.
Yeah, even people are like, well, you shouldn't be pushing them really hard.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
don't know, dude. That's interesting. That's cool as fuck.
I do like it.
To learn that that's how a culture, like, I've never sat there and asked myself, how is a culture getting a Caesar?
Yes.
How is, you know what I mean?
But it's a huge question.
It is. It's one that I hadn't considered.
Yeah. Caesar grew up, and there's a room in his house, and in that room, it's all the death masks of his ancestors, and he's supposed to be better than all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking on that, to be better than them, like, that's part of it, right? So not only how far can I push myself, I want my son to be better than me.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
How timeless is that?
Dude, I remember recently in life, my son looked up at me and was like, Dad, I want to be just like you when I grow up. And I said, be better than me.
I'm training my kids to be better than me.
Yeah, dude, I want him to absolutely surpass.
Yeah.
I mean, rest in peace, but I feel like I've surpassed my father at this age 100%.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great feeling.
That is great.
Yeah, I know a lot of, especially here in California, I'm sure a lot of immigrants feel that way. Like, holy shit, I was the first one to graduate college or high school or whatever the case may be. It's fucking legacy shit.
It is.
It's dope.
I've not surpassed my father. I'm working on it every day, though.
It's coming. It's also good to have a father who fucking accomplished a lot of shit.
Yeah, he accomplished a lot.
That's dope.
Yeah. All right. Going back to the story. We'll come back to this greater than my father. It's actually a huge moment. It's like a huge theme that runs through the story.
Okay, we're going to be talking about, so can we call this episode Daddy Issues?
It is daddy issues.
Let's
okay.
go.
Let's take the break. Let's go into some of the daddy issues and we'll come back to them.
Okay.
So last time we were talking and you were asking a question about, like, why do they want to kill? Because, like, the whole point of this, the gods saying that they need to kill a bunch of the Trojans because the world's too populated. And you're like, why?
It was a Thanos moment, right? Yeah.
But it's more than that. There's two things that we didn't talk about. One is that Gaia, like the god of Earth, kind of makes, like, a backdoor deal with Zeus of, like, I need you to do this for me. And Zeus, being the king of the gods,
raped her.
Yes. No, I don't think he messes with Gaia. He kind of respects her as like a parallel, because she doesn't seek to lead, but she has a lot of, like, authority and power, and, like, he wants her to survive and do well. And so if she says that, then he's like, all right, I'm going to make that happen, and I'm not going to explain myself to anybody because I'm Zeus, and that's what Zeus does. Zeus doesn't explain himself, like, most of the time, which is kind of a crazy leadership thing. And
I mean, does the Abrahamic God explain himself?
That's true. It's very Old Testament-y, isn't it?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think he explains himself clearly. I think that's why pastors have jobs. They're explaining God's intentions.
Yeah, I like that. So that's kind of why this whole thing is going in motion. The reason why he owes Achilles' mom a favor, remember, because she went and was like, hey, can you, like, stall the Trojans dying because my son's mad, and can you just kill a bunch of Greeks instead? And Zeus said yes, because he owed her a favor. The favor was that Zeus learned that god, Achilles' mom, she was going to give birth to a son that was greater than his father. And that freaked Zeus out. Because Zeus is the son of Kronos, who's a Titan. And Zeus became greater than Kronos and trapped Kronos in the place where they're all trapped.
He did that to his dad?
Well, his dad ate all of his kids and stuff. It's
But
like the whole thing.
Dang, there's some dysfunctional, fucked up family drama here.
They're not healthy. Yeah, so Zeus, Kronos ate like a lot of the gods, and they carved themselves out and then trapped him and stuff. It's like a whole thing. It's pretty fun.
That is pretty metal.
Yeah, pretty dope. So anyway, that's why he was afraid of that. Like, oh, what if she, has a kid with a powerful god, and then that kid becomes a more powerful god, and maybe he can challenge me.
Okay, so in these moments, they don't want their kids to be stronger.
Well, I think it shows an anxiety of it. You want your kid to be better than you, but what if you're a tyrant? When do you want your kid better than you? Yeah. Right? Because if you're a tyrant or the god,
what if you're Paul Atreides?
Then your kid will kill you because that's better than you. Mm-hmm. Right? Kind of that. I think it's that kind of mentality with Zeus.
Okay.
But he's still Zeus, so he's like, I'm kind of want to see what happens though. Like he's kind of just morbidly interested in it. And so then he makes her marry the guy who wrestled her, the mortal, and then that's how we get Achilles, who's going to be better than his father.
Got it.
So he like scales down the prophecy to make it manageable because he's Zeus. Okay, that's fun. But it's just interesting. The greater than father, we're going to see it a little bit later. It'll come back.
I'm getting Dune vibes from that for some reason.
There's a lot of Dune vibes. I've been reading God, Emperor of Dune this week. So good.
I really just chose a random Dune book and kind of just flipped through it.
I read the first 3 at like the beginning of the year in like this weird sprint I had, and then I stopped, and so I was like, all right, I'm coming back to God.
Listening or reading?
Reading.
Interesting.
I love reading God, Emperor.
Well, because is that the one where he wrote it as though it was from like prescient? Yeah, that shit's wild, bro.
It's just fun. I just like sitting there on some of the passages. A lot of it doesn't age perfectly, but his gender stuff's like, it's almost there. It's just not, it's like, oh, you're still like 10 years off.
Yeah.
Agamemnon calls Odysseus a coward. I don't get why you would do this. It doesn't make any sense to me. Odysseus' return, I have it quoted out here. Son of Atreides, what's this talk that's scaled the barrier of your teeth? I love that.
Son of Atreides?
Atreus, I think, becomes Atreides.
Really?
I think that's how he made the word.
Really?
I think so. Because like they're like leaders, like hawkish leaders.
Yeah. Interesting.
I know they're Greek words. Or Roman words. No, I think they're Greek. But I like that, right? The talk that scaled through your teeth. Like these words climbed out of your teeth. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing letting those pass your teeth, you dumb? And then he says, your words are empty wind. Which is dope.
Empty wind.
He's screaming. Imagine these guys on chariots in front of all their soldiers, and Odysseus is screaming this back so Agamemnon can hear him. And then Agamemnon like immediately backs off because he's like, I fucked up. Like I shouldn't have called this guy out. Like obviously I should not have picked a fight with Odysseus. Like what am I thinking? And then he does save it in a good way, and he's kind of commendable because he says, you think the same way that I do, after giving him a bunch of praises. So he's letting all the soldiers nearby know, like, we're the same, you and I, Odysseus, that's smarter than me.
We're not so different, you and I.
That's pretty good. Okay, so then the armies are going to meet. When they had come to one place and were met together, buckler slammed against buckler, spear thrust, the bronze-clad rage of warriors pressed the attack. Their bossed shields ground hard, each upon the other, and a mighty hubbub went up. There were groans of triumphant shouts from warriors killing or being killed, while the earth ran wet with blood. Pretty dope. It goes on to more.
Yeah, that sounds like some like screamo lyrics for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like some revolution shit.
So it's intense. I actually have some footage from it. All right, so if you are watching, then make sure to watch this little video.
If you're on Spotify, you can open up your phone and watch the video.
If not, I'll kind of explain what's going on here. Sounds so good. All right, so right here we have the fight. We have the Greek phalanx going off against the skirmish line.
Okay, I have a question. So did you set up these guys specifically next to each other? Or did you just press a button that said put them in a phalanx?
No, it took me forever.
Yeah, okay.
I did it with my controller. I never regretted buying
dude.
something with my controller instead of on my Mac so hard as when I was trying to make this content.
Really?
Yes, it was horrible. I'm probably going to have to just rebuy it. Okay, so we have the Greek phalanx. Now, there would be some chariots in there as well. And then we have the Trojan skirmish line. And some things I do want to bring up is that I have a rock throwers because it's hilarious. But there's actually like a fair amount of rock throwing in the Iliad.
Really?
Like a lot of rock throwing.
With slingshots?
It doesn't say, and so that's
Has
one of
to
those hard.
be.
I don't
Has
know.
to
No,
be.
sometimes it's like he picked up a rock that like would take 3 men to pick up,
Rock throwers, huh?
and like they crush each other's hips and stuff. with them.
Boulder throwers.
So like sometimes the rocks will hit a shoulder, and it's like, and his shoulder
Oh,
went.
Jesus, dude.
And
Okay,
then-
now that I'm thinking about this, is brutal.
Yeah, and some guys are like, it's their hip, and I'm like, the amount of pain that would come from dislocating your hip and breaking it from a rock.
Oh, bro, in your older years, you die from that shit.
Yeah, I bet. So rock throwers, some chariots as well, some shield guys. You'll see I also have some shield guys with some archers behind them. That's a shout out to how this battle started.
What do we got going over here with these ships?
So we have the Greek ships that are all lined up, and then we have Achilles' ship. I just wanted to kind of note that his is like the furthest away from all the other ones. That'll come important later. And we have 2 rivers. I kind of got the river location a little bit wrong, I think. But we have 2 rivers that kind of branch out from the bay where the Greeks put their boats in.
But for the most part, this is relatively similar to how the book describes the siege.
This is how I saw it.
Okay, let's go.
All right, and they're going to square off, and we're going to see kind of how this first fight really happened, you know? I don't know why that guy's up there.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's the homeboy up top there?
I don't know.
All right, here we go.
So brutal. We have just immediate clashing of a skirmish line.
Phalanx is looking pretty good.
Yeah, Phalanx is strong, guys.
Phalanx is looking pretty good so far.
So they're just crushing them, grouping them up. It doesn't go well. It doesn't go well for everybody.
The Greeks. Oh, okay. Trojans are making a little bit of a comeback here.
Yeah, they got their boat or their
wheelbarrows.
Wheelbarrows.
The ships are for looking.
Yeah, the ships are just for
aesthetic.
Okay.
Those rock throwers are
rock throwers. I think he threw an apple because it's a silly game. So the Greeks crushed him right there. But we'll see. They won't crush him for very long. All right.
Sieging is hard.
Sieging is hard.
Is that the correct verb?
To siege.
Sieging.
Make it like a
siege.
Is that a gerund?
I don't know.
But you get some great language from Homer. That is nice. So this is from one of the kills. I'll just read kind of the description here. This effort lasted an instant only, for as he was lugging the corpse, high-spirited Agamemnon saw him stoop, and where his ribs were exposed beyond the shield, struck home with a bronze-tipped spear, and loosened his limbs. So the vital breath left him, and a hard-fought tussle took between the Achaeans and the Trojans over his corpse. Like wolves, they sprang one at another, and fighter battered fighter. Pretty fun.
Yeah, that's good. It's pretty dope language.
No, it's way more. I think, like I said, book 2 is hard, and it ruins it for a lot of people because it's all the boats and where they came from.
Yeah.
But the fighting language is
great.
It's there.
Yeah, I like the dialogue.
Yes. Okay, and then we have in this fight, so the fight's going, it's pretty intense, lots of people are dying. Odysseus' comrade is hit, and it's interesting because Odysseus' comrade is trying to like peel the armor off another dead soldier, showing you how common this is in warfare. If these soldiers, this is how they're getting paid, right? They're ripping off armor and taking it home and trying to sell it and shit.
Yeah, but typically that happens after like it's over, after the battle is over.
We'll talk about not in these ones.
That's foolish.
Old Man Nestor. This is why I said you're gonna like Old Man Nestor a lot.
Okay.
And Homer just says, far too many Achaeans and Trojans on that day lay by the other, stretched out face down in the dust.
Are you saying Achaeans?
Achaeans. Achaeans are
those the ones that
Greeks.
they mentioned in 300?
Yeah.
When they all come together with those different soldiers and he meets the Achaeans to help?
Yeah, but the Achaeans are it's like for our purposes, they're synonyms for Greeks.
Okay. And these are like citizen soldiers too? Is that a thing?
I think it varies culture to culture. Because like the Lacedaemonians are here, so like the Spartans are here.
Because the whole thing in 300 was the Achaeans were like, remember that's the scene where
the potters and
right.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, they're not warriors. They're just everyday people.
So that I feel like that's some retconning from whatever that guy's name is that wrote it.
Frank Miller.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's book 4. The fighting's still going on. We go into book 5, and book 5 is where we're gonna get the Arete word come back.
Now we are sieging this. We're sieging the city of Troy, correct?
It's been under siege for 9 years.
Okay, but they're still actively like what we were talking about was the Trojans essentially protecting Troy, correct?
Yes. The Trojans are protecting the city of Troy, which is behind them.
Gotcha.
Why they're out fighting is something that I've been thinking about a lot, and I don't really know why they're pushing it unless there's subtext of like less food, or they got all this influx of all these soldiers from out of state, essentially, and maybe they just feel like they have the numbers to fight. But I don't know why they would fight, because they can wait it out kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they can't. Anyway, we get this guy Diomedes. I never heard of Diomedes before reading the Iliad. He's not like a common name. But Diomedes goes on a fucking killing spree. And this is why I was talking about how that word Arete is similar to like Allah and stuff, and it has like these spiritual divinity connotations, but it's slightly different. Because in the Iliad, gods can show up and you can be fighting with them on accident. And Diomedes doesn't give a fuck. And he will cut a god. And the gods will be scared of him.
It's pretty punk rock.
It's weird.
So he has like a problem with authority. He has like an authority figure problem.
He just has like, he's just in this moment. Like he can't be stopped because he's having this Arete moment. He's having this moment of his own divinity. And it's interesting because in most Greek stories, like Arachne is house, right? The arachnids, where spiders come from. And the story is, don't say you're better than a god and don't challenge a god. Because she says she's a better weaver than Athena. And so Athene comes down and is like, fuck you are, and then turns her into a spider. But here, he's like, he doesn't give a fuck. He's like, I'm having my moment and no one's going to stop my moment. So he goes on a killing spree. And it's this display of excellence. And he threw a spear and it took a Trojan off his own horse. Like he's doing dope stuff.
So he's having like a Matrix. This is in the preview.
This is Neo.
This is in the red band preview for the Iliad.
Yeah, this is his Deadpool scene. Just like having fun with it.
This is a cool moment in history, film history.
Yeah. What's interesting is when he knocked that Trojan off the horse, he was going to go kill the other Trojan, and then a god like conceals that guy and lets him go. And it might be Aeneas. I forget if it's Aeneas or not. But it's like a guy who's going to need another part in the story.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that one was Aeneas or not. But what's interesting to me is if you suspend your disbelief as like the audience member to Homer right now for that scene, is it because there's so much known chaos on a battlefield that people can literally just like disappear from you and you just don't know where they go? Or is it saying that like it was obviously so dusty with all this fighting, all these people running in horses, it's just so like dusty, there's no way you see anything anyway. It just makes me think that there is like a rational reason why a god could whisk away a guy. It's because battles are wild and like you actually don't keep track of shit.
Yeah, like you were saying, there could have perhaps been a screen of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. You're trying to rationalize the Arete.
Right.
Interesting.
Or like I'm trying to rationalize why a god can conceal a person and the audience accepts that as like a common thing.
Right, but we don't necessarily know why a person would get Arete over another person in any given moment, correct?
Correct.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Like it comes and goes.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the whole God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. But it's weird because it's not God, because Zeus is up there throwing thunderbolts when he gets mad.
But it's of the same vein.
Yeah. It is interesting. And then there's Titans below. Their god system is the polytheistic god system with like multi-tiers is like very interesting.
It's kind of cool though. It's making me want to, when people say, do you believe in God? I want to now say, like, which one?
Yeah. The fighting goes for the Greeks, as you would imagine at this moment, right? We saw from our video how the simulation works out. Agamemnon actually gets in his chariot. He starts like killing people. It's pretty dope for him. Not for the guys he kills, but it's going well. Let's hear some more just gross language because I'm getting into it. So he stabbed into his neck tendon with a sharp spear, clean through his teeth. The bronze went and severed his tongue at the root. He collapsed in the dust, teeth clamped on the cold bronze.
Yeah, I like it.
I like that.
I kind of want to... Can we do a segment? Can I see the words? Is there any way for me to see the words? This is the top one?
Yep.
A sharp spear clean through his teeth. The bronze went and severed his tongue at the root. He collapsed in the dust. Teeth clamped on the cold bronze. Just wanted to try that.
That's really good. Yeah, I really like that.
It just felt angsty.
It is angsty.
Yeah.
But you can see, because what is Midwest emo or emo if not just like pandering to the crowd?
For sure.
And this crowd would eat this shit up.
I'm feeling that Homer wrote this in a street in a common area somewhere.
That's how that's why I'm saying these stories are absolutely...
Oh, that makes sense, because that's how it was supposed to be written.
It's supposed to be received by us.
Street. Yeah.
And I'm imagining us after work, tired, and like, today sucked. And then you go and you're like,
cold bronze teeth. I don't know. Fucking yeah, that's tight. I feel it, dude. It's cool, man.
It's so much more relatable than you realize. Like these ancient texts, if you just like if you have the techniques to like break them down, you're like, oh shit, this is exactly what we go through today. Nothing has changed.
It takes time, dude.
Yeah.
People get intimidated by literature because sometimes you have to reread a sentence.
Yep. And there's pretension, like gatekeeping.
There is.
I felt a lot of gatekeeping when I was trying to get into it.
Did you?
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes me sad for you. So here at Battle Buddies, we aim to break through those gatekeeping, and we say, welcome to the Iliad.
Well, it could have been my own invention. Who knows?
That's true.
So Diomedes, he's freaking out. Like he's just a monster, essentially. Like he's like a little bit like a behemoth. He gets hit by an arrow. He doesn't die. He doesn't care. He's like, I don't fucking care about this arrow.
Diomedes, huh?
Diomedes. So
a picture of this Diomedes.
Pandaros, he starts to get mad because his 2 shots against the 2 Greeks has only made things worse. That's the guy that tried to shoot Menelaus. So like he's like, I've only made things worse from my shooting, and he gets mad, which is hilarious because if I made a huge mistake, I wouldn't be mad about the fact that it didn't work out. I'd be mad at myself for doing it,
of course,
for making the bad call. So I really like that he takes no ownership of what he's done. Like he has just set in motion of the eventual Trojan demise, but like that's not what he wanted. He wanted to kill somebody.
It's interesting what people use from gods and spirituality within the context of their own lives. Meaning, like over in the Middle East, they would say things like "Inshallah," right? Inshallah means God willing. And people, am I going crazy?
Those are fireworks.
Okay,
welcome to my street.
All right, but people would use it in the most absurd ways. Right. So it'd be like, "Hey, Kevin, do you want to record a podcast tomorrow?" And you'd be like, "Inshallah." It's like, so I gotta put it on my calendar, though, bro. Like. We
have control over this one.
So be there.
That's funny. Okay, Aeneas tells that guy Pandaros, he's like, yo, we gotta go confront Diomedes. This is what I like about these ancient battles, and whether they're real or not, who cares, because they're fun. Because basically, like, one guy starts going off, like Steph Curry in the 4th quarter of the Olympics. And everyone else like, we have to take this guy out, or else like it's over for us, because this will rally everybody else, and everyone else is going to be like, we're obviously winning this. We got the crazy guy going off. You
know who I'm mad? So I looked up on the internet what Diomedes looks like.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I'm imagining Diomedes as like General Akbar from Star Wars, like the squid head, just like just not giving a fuck about anybody.
I was thinking more like LeBron, like a tank.
No, dude, I'm getting mad. Like
Okay,
Admiral,
I like this.
just not giving a fuck.
He's just an
bro.
Akbar.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so Aeneas, this part of the Iliad, this is the other weird part. Like
This is.
I don't know how to describe to the listeners this part because I'm not going to read through it because it's ridiculous. But I have to explain it because if you read it or if you talk about it, like this will come up.
Tell me everything.
So Aeneas is like, I have some really fast horses. And you're like, cool, that's all I needed to hear. That's not all that happens. These horses, I don't even know how many pages it is about these fucking horses. It goes on and on and on. So like this guy like got a favor from Zeus, and then he like was able to borrow a Zeus horse, and then he like got one of his stud horses, and then he had like some Zeus horse babies.
Yeah.
But there's a certain amount of them, and he had the horse a certain amount of time, and then like those horse offsprings have been carefully like everybody knows these horses.
Now in this part of the book, it's pretty much exactly kind of like how you're saying. It's like, okay, so this horse begot this horse, like, and then the horse cock it slid into the horse.
No,
vagina.
the guy is like, but while he had it, I brought my stud out. He's like, and then I got like 5 of them from it.
And then there's a bunch of horses smoking Marlboro Reds in bed afterwards. Okay, dude, so it does go into detail about horse fucking.
Oh my god, it doesn't stop, and it just like traces these fucking horses. And who like stole horses from other people, like a lot of horse stealing.
Well,
this is a thing in ancient time too, even from recent time.
I was just gonna say Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Like your horse is like it's one of your biggest assets.
Well, what about even the book we read, The Different Stars Above?
Yeah.
From Donner Party, that girl's husband died because he stole a horse.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. No.
In the Napa Valley, he got hung for that.
There you go.
Fuck.
It's like worse than stealing someone's car,
depending on the culture.
Sure.
Native American is seen as like a fun sport. Right? We're talking about that.
Yeah, no, that's like
a culture-based thing.
It's pretty dope. That's really
fun.
cool. I could see horses are a big deal. I get it.
You imagine?
I do get it.
Our society. You can steal my car. If I don't catch you,
you can have my car.
You can have my car
if you steal it. Yeah.
Whoa, that would change everything.
Yeah, in the United States, dude, with the gun laws, I don't know, man.
Whew.
Yeah.
That would change everything.
It would change everything.
Everything would be different. So anyway, they have these fast horses.
Okay.
If you're going to talk about the Iliad, it comes up. I don't know.
Sometimes horses fuck.
Well, yeah.
Horses are people too, dude.
Semi-divine horses, because it's not the last of this.
It comes up again.
This story, and this is the thing with these kinds of oral tradition stories, is like when it gets retold, they don't reference it. They say the whole thing again because that's how oral traditions work. That's how you and I remember the stories.
That's how you keep it. Understood.
It's like, God damn it, not again.
In the video game that Battle Buddies is coming out, we're making an Iliad video game.
God, that'd be so much fun.
And trying to find a horse mate is like half the game.
Yeah. And then stealing it.
You have to braid your horse's tail at some point. It's the whole thing.
Okay. It doesn't work out. So Pandaros and Aeneas, they're going in the chariot with these super fast horses, and they're like, we're gonna fuck up Diomedes, who's going off. And it doesn't work because Diomedes cannot be stopped right now. So Diomedes kills Pandaros like immediately. And Pandaros didn't want to do it. Like he was mad, but Aeneas like, come on, man, like let's do this. So it's not. I feel a little bad for him. And then he throws a giant rock at Aeneas, and it hits Aeneas in his hip, and it says it crushed it. His hip is just gone.
Crushes his hip.
His hip is crushed. So Aeneas, we're not going to get too much into the Aeneas stuff. But Aeneas is the guy who's going to eventually like found Rome kind of thing. Like his story turns into the founding of Rome.
And we're talking about Rome, like the city of Rome. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
And it's not, but the Aeneid is like the continuation of that story.
Okay.
But he is the son of Aphrodite. So Aphrodite's like, I can't let my son die here. So she like covers him up to like whisk him away. And Diomedes is like, I don't give a fuck. I know that you're Aphrodite because I can see through God's disguises right now, and I'm still going to cut you. And he cuts her, which is bonkers.
I hope if you're in your car right now listening to this, you're imagining Admiral Akbar stabbing them.
Don't ruin this moment for me. Yeah, but
I love
fish
this.
Yeah.
I love Admiral Akbar.
So god blood, if you don't know, it's called ichor. So
Really?
So the ichor, it's like a whole thing.
How do you spell that?
Ichor.
Ichor is god blood?
Yeah.
That would be a cool brand name.
That would be a cool brand name, the ichor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sick. If we ever come out with something, let's name it Ichor.
I do like that. So that's what flows in their veins. They don't have blood because they don't eat bread and they don't drink wine.
Is this a physical substance that I can see?
Yeah.
Interesting. So gods do bleed, but it's not human blood, it's Ichor.
It's ichor, and that's when you see that, that's why you know they're immortal. Because you're not immortal until you bleed ichor, until you have ichor in your veins.
I don't know. Can I have a problem with this?
Well, then it's like the ambrosia
I'm having a
thing.
problem with a mortal being having blood. But it's not blood, but you know what I'm saying.
Right. But they get like healed up. It's not fatal. Nothing's fatal to them. But it helps
What
them
is
do
the
their things.
purpose of Ichor?
Who knows?
Okay.
I actually don't know that one. That's a good question. I'm going to look that up for the next.
Here we go. The purpose of Ichor is a substance found in Greek mythology. It's the, quote, blood of the gods, often described as golden or ethereal. Unlike human blood, which carries oxygen, nutrients, and waste products, Ichor's primary purpose seems to be a symbol of divinity, you are correct, and immortality.
It just shows you that you're
immortal. Yeah.
Because it shows you that you don't need bread.
So, in essence, Ichor is a literary device used to emphasize the otherworldly nature of the gods.
Cool.
So I am being too literal.
You are.
Yes.
For gods coming down and saving their sons.
Yeah.
So she goes away. She saves him, right? She heals him so that he can come back and fight later. But she has to go get like healed, and that's like a whole thing. Like she has to go find the lady that heals her, and the lady like has to wrap her up and stuff. So all the gods are like, damn, Diomedes is kind of going off right now. It's pretty dope. Even Apollo goes down and is trying to stop him. And Aeneas doesn't care. He starts attacking Apollo. He doesn't do anything to Apollo because Apollo's really good. He's like a pretty powerful god. And it doesn't work out, but it doesn't stop Diomedes. Apollo like kind of bails. Like he doesn't get into it. Which just shows you like this weird thing about the Arete being like semi-divine in my mind. Like there is this like almost divine quality to humans that they can do this. And I know you could say like, but Apollo could kill him if he wanted to, but he was following Zeus's rules. I know that, but it's not in the story that way. And I feel like it's not in the story that way for a reason, to emphasize like the greatness of human potential. Because one of the definitions of Arete is to pray.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you can summon it in a way.
Yes. Okay, so it's going the way of the Greeks, right? Diomedes is kind of leading the charge. Agamemnon's doing his job. The Trojans they're hurting right now. And a soldier actually goes to Hector and just chastises him. He's like, you got to figure this out for me, man. Like, we're going to lose. Like, we have to rally this. And Hector takes the chastisement. And he's like, all right, you're right. And he gets off his horse. He grabs some spears. And he just starts getting all the boys excited. Did you ever have a moment where like your sergeants had to get you guys all excited about shit? Like, you better start getting excited about what's about to happen, guys.
No.
That's good.
I don't think it works that way in the Marine Corps.
No.
They like try to keep us upset.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, better start getting excited, like, because shit's happening right now. Like,
I see.
Be in the moment right now.
So, yes.
Okay.
In certain times where they're like, oh, cool, you actually get to like use your training and do your job, they're like, be excited for that.
Okay. What do they do to like make you in the moment? Like, you better start moving right now. Things are happening right now.
The terms revert to your training
Okay.
are usually a pretty good indication of like it's time to get excited. But again, being excited is a hard term to use because if you're reverting to your training, you're just following a procedure, right?
Right.
But reverting to your training it's comforting because it's something that you've been doing a lot of. And for a human being, you are technically waiting to do that.
Right.
Like I think Andrew Coville talked to us about that. He's like, if you throw a rock in any direction in North Carolina, like there's dudes chomping at the bit to go fight, and
Right.
that's true, I think. But excitement is a weird word. I don't know. It's hard to explain in English terms. I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm sure the Germans have plenty of words for it.
But I do get it that it's different because these are hand-to-hand fights. And they're fighting with spears, and it's about your excitement level.
Okay,
at some point,
let
right?
me ask you, dude.
Yeah.
You wrestled in high school.
Yeah.
What did you do to get excited for a wrestle?
Didn't get excited enough.
Did that make it difficult?
I remember the worst loss I ever had. My dad said, "If you ever do that again, you can't wrestle."
Well, was
anymore.
it because you were like not necessarily?
I wasn't
there?
in it. Yeah.
There you go. That's a better example,
Yes.
I think.
Wrestling is a great example, like a short
Mm-hmm.
sparring match of anything.
So, in retrospect, what would you have done to try to psych yourself up to be excited for that match?
If I was me now, I would get my blood going because I actually need my blood moving.
Okay, so jumping up and down.
And I used to scoff at that like it's all mental. But for me,
Mm.
my mental is fine. I have good mental discipline now. Physically, though, I need physical cues because I'm so relaxed all the time.
Yeah, your legs are analogous to your heartbeat.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
if
absolutely.
you start jumping, that is going to help your heart rate. That's interesting.
That's what I would do now. If I could go back, I would like go out to the gym and do a lap.
I'm sure you do that before your races for
That's
your
what
runs.
I mean. That's what I run before my races.
you
Absolutely.
go. Yeah.
Because I've learned that about myself.
Like runners out there, if any of you ran like a half marathon or a marathon before the race, everyone's at the porta potties
Yeah.
because your nerves are like,
And you just want to poop.
yeah,
I love pooping before a race.
that's great.
All right. So Ajax, we haven't talked a lot about Ajax. Ajax is cool. Ajax is like a huge tower of a Greek. And there's two Ajax, but we're mainly focusing right now on Ajax the stronger, Ajax the greater. He is from the Salamis or whatever, the Battle of Salami
Really?
from 300. Yeah, that's where his nation's from, I think.
Oh, dope.
We'll get to that. But
Salami or whatever.
that's where they tie their ancestry to. Isn't that cool? Like,
Best fucking English teacher ever.
so Ajax, Odysseus, and Diomedes, they're trying to keep the Greek momentum up because they're winning right now. They're winning pretty hard. Homer is using words like steadfast and unyielding, which makes you think of the phalanx, right? That it's just like this almost computer-like thing of just
nose to the grindstone.
very 300. That first day of 300 in the movie when they were like, "No one dies today," they just kind of march the whole time. It reminds me of that. Like, today's the day where we do it this way. Okay, then we have Athene. And Athena. I talked about how Odysseus is like her favorite, or will become her favorite. Athena usually has somebody that she likes that's Greek. She favors cunning and craft more than just...
Are we speaking in D&D terms here?
No, like just like inventiveness and creativity.
Okay.
So
she's clever. She's smart.
Yeah, so she represents like one of the main... I think this is very telling of Greek culture. She's like the main Greek god, Athene. And you can trace like the word techne kind of to her, which is like technology.
Yeah.
And my professor in grad school used to talk about how techne, you can find ways to describe its etymology as weaving. And that technology is just the weaving of things. Like literally you start with weaving baskets and then you get to computers.
Wow.
And there's a direct line.
Yeah.
And so the Greek culture prides itself in this god who taught them how to weave.
Wow.
And so that's like it just shows you like
that's where the word technology comes from. Huh?
That's one way to look at the word. It comes from techne, and a lot of I haven't seen it, like it's not like that popular, but in grad school we were definitely doing techne as weaving. Like,
that's tight.
Parallels. And it's there.
That's cool.
There for you. It may not be there like on a Google search, but it's there if you dig.
It's a conversation happening in graduate school at Long Beach State.
Yeah, so it's fine.
Because
we had to be pretty good with our sources.
Yeah.
But I just think it's so interesting that that's the Greek god that they like more than all the other gods. They like all the other gods, but they like her.
Well, that makes sense.
Right.
We love technology.
Right.
Right. What brings us together? We all know a day without technology, how that goes.
Absolutely. And who do we value most? We value those that are being the most creative and the most clever. And I feel like America our modern culture isn't doing as much as the Greeks, right? The Greeks are more like what we're talking about with Caesar, like how do you make a Caesar? Well, if Athena's your god and she only looks for the most crazy person that wants to hear sirens and not die, then that's who I gotta be, rather than just being like a good general or steadfast guy.
Would you compare, perhaps, all opinions aside, would you compare perhaps to a modern day Athene, maybe like an Elon Musk situation?
Yeah, but the problem with modern, I was trying to think like Elon Musk, maybe Zuckerberg, but they're both too goofy.
Yeah.
Like they're not consistently clever.
Hmm.
Like Elon Musk says dumb things.
He does.
And
he's also extremely, it's hard to make a comparison, isn't it?
Because Odysseus is smart all the time. Like he's always witty. He's always very funny.
He just is smart.
Yeah.
He doesn't have smart moments. He's
right.
a smart person,
yes.
God or whatever.
And he doesn't like, he's thinking so far ahead that he doesn't make political gaffes. Because he'll let people do dumb things because he doesn't want to make a political gaffe.
Calculated.
He's calculating for the next thing. So like that's what they want. They want like these crazy fucking leaders.
I see.
Which is crazy. So that's Athena. And Athena is wearing Zeus's Aegis. That's kind of like a shield thing. But what's interesting about it, and I think this is very telling of what these ancient battles were like, it had the heads of panic, strife, prowess, pursuit, and the Gorgon, which turns everyone into stone. So those are like the symbols on the shield that represents like Zeus and war and like power and stuff. Panic and strife are the first two. Mm-hmm. The god of panic, Phobos, I think his name is.
Okay.
He is there. So we talk about ancient warfare. Ancient warfare is like they approach, they meet, they push, and then one gets pulled and runs away. And that's Phobos. That's the running away. And that's when shit's bad. That's what you want to try to avoid with your fights. It's okay to lose a ancient battle. It's not okay to rout, because you will die in the rout. Now, Athena is riding with Hera, and Hera's the wife of Zeus. Hera's wild. Hera's really fun, because Hera knows all the shit that Zeus is doing, all the rape and stuff.
Does he have multiple wives?
No.
It's just Hera.
Just Hera.
Okay.
And he's not very faithful to her.
No shit.
And so they're driving a flaming horse chariot, and Athena's riding shotgun in it with like this scary giant shield thing. And they go to Zeus, trying to like flex some power and complain about Ares, because Ares is now helping the Trojans a little bit. Zeus says that they can ride down and Mad Max Ares and Apollo and make them have to go away, because Ares is kind of who he sides with whoever he wants to in that moment. He's kind of duplicitous. Apollo definitely likes both, but he favors the Trojans, I think, in this story more. But the only reason I put that on there, one, we can see the gods are going to start to kind of leave the story for a little bit, which is interesting. And two, Zeus has these great lines. He calls Athene the spoil bringer, which is great. Like if your dad called you that, oh, it's the spoil bringer again.
Bring us spoils.
Come spoil our fun.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Fun
sucker.
I could not imagine my dad fucking calling, hey, spoil bringer, come over here. That'd be bad. That'd be bad for my mental.
Yeah, you will be talking to your therapist about that later in life.
Okay, so Athene, she drives the chariot for Diomedes, and she's going to go attack Ares. Ares jumps and strikes at Diomedes with a spear. The god of war is fighting Diomedes right now, just so we're clear on this. Athene deflects the spear, and then she guides Diomedes' spear right into Ares' belly.
Sick.
Dope. And I have a quote here. Then brazen Ares bellowed as loud as the war cry of 9,000, no, 10,000 fighting troops as they clash in his Ares' strife. Now the Achaeans and the Trojans were seized by fear and trembling.
Fear and trembling.
It's so good. 9,000. No, 10,000. So Ares got stabbed in the belly by this dude, and yes, Athene's helping, but
what
still.
sound do you hear when you hear the stabbing at the belly? I'm thinking like an air, like a.
Oh, like air.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like sucking in, like, oh no.
Oh yeah, because they all had like abs, right? Except for Admiral
Maybe.
Akbar.
Admiral Akbar was ripped.
Odysseus? No, Diomedes.
Diomedes. Ares goes and bitches to Zeus for a while. But he starts he's basically complaining to Zeus, like, how come Athena can do whatever she wants? And I do like it. He says, yet you oppose her in no way, neither by word nor deed, but give her head, since the little whore is your child. I like since the little whore is your child. That's fun.
Who's he referring to? The Athena?
Yeah. Because Athena,
she gets around?
No, she is just really scary, and she likes the Greeks, and she wants her Greeks to be cunning and scary and strong.
Are they using the whore in a different way that I don't understand?
Horror. Horror.
Horror. Got it.
I had speech for my R's, dude.
It's all good. No, but I'm asking clarifying questions.
No, you're good. Yeah, so she's a little horror.
Got it.
Which is fun.
Yes, that she is.
Like your brother saying that to your dad about your sister.
I was like, she's calling her a hoe? Like,
yes.
All right. Now I'm caught up.
All right. Now we're in book 6. The gods have now all exited the battlefield. That's basically the point of that, is that there were a lot of gods there. They're all trying to influence. And then Zeus is like, everyone out. Everyone out. And they all leave. And we get a little more of the descriptions, but we already talked about that, right? That this river. So I think this is the river on the right of the battle is the river Scamander, which will come into play a little bit later. This river on the left of the Greeks, I think, is called the Simois. And so they talk about a little bit of location. They don't say Scamander yet, but I've already read it, so pretty sure that's what he's talking about.
Scamander.
Ajax, so in this battle, the battle's kind of locking up. Ajax makes the first break in the enemy lines by taking out the leader of the Thracian army with a spear. And this is a quote here I wanted to add in. The bronze spear point stuck in his forehead, entered the cranium, and darkness enveloped both his eyes. Pretty metal. So remember that the Trojans, their skirmish line tightened up because Hector started rallying all the boys, right? He's like, time to get excited. So they did line back up. They formed up. So they're giving a stronger fight now to the Greeks.
Okay.
The Greek officers, they're finding success. We don't need to talk about all of it. But we should talk about Menelaus, because Menelaus captures this noble-born guy. I have his name here, Adrestus. And Adrestus is like, he does the normal thing that would happen in an ancient fight if you're a noble. Like, you got me. You killed my chariot driver and I'm out of spears. You got me. Send a ransom to my dad. He's a couple cities away. He'll pay you, and then I'll go. That's like a normal thing. Because remember, a lot of these battles are to gain wealth. Stripping armor off people and stuff.
Okay.
And ransoming noble guys.
That's money.
Money. So it's fine. And Menelaus is like, yep, this is the standard quo. And we start seeing why this battle is different from all the other ones, or why this war is different, because Agamemnon says, no. Fuck that guy. Kill him.
So that's a big deal.
Those are big deals. That's not what you're supposed to do.
Would you say it is equivalent or comparable to killing a messenger?
No, not a messenger, because that's such a big faux pas here in this culture. I think it would be
in
killing
the world, bro.
Yes, but especially in ancient times, because that's the only way they communicate.
The courier.
I think it would be like killing a POW.
Oh,
so like all of our pilots and if they all were executed when they got off. You wouldn't do that because you trade officers for officers. They have monetary value.
It's a Geneva. It's just such a.
It's just not how it's done.
It's not.
Even if you ignore the Geneva Convention, there's value in holding an officer as a prisoner.
I suppose it is. If you execute a prisoner like that, you're rubbing elbows with some genocide shit. It's weird.
It makes it weird. It makes it
very odd.
It makes it hateful.
It's inhumane.
Yeah. Which is interesting because isn't that...
War is inhumane.
Right. Are these just social constructs that let us do it? And so like when you peel them back, you're like, now I feel icky.
Mm-hmm. Probably
something like that.
As I was explaining it, I felt dumb. Like
but it's...
Like, the POWs, like, you shouldn't kill them. But there's so much fucked up shit that happens in war that it's weird to sit there Semantics.
Yep.
Feels like semantics.
Agamemnon does reference also that not even a child should be able to escape this war.
Wow.
So I asked Hannah about this because this is going to come up in a little bit too. Greater than your father. The issue is, let's say you killed me in a fight, right? We're in a war. You killed me.
I see. So evolutionarily speaking, he thinks that getting rid of the children will get rid of like better future warriors.
Or just the idea that, so you killed me. I had a son. My son's going to know who killed me.
Yeah.
And in this time period, it's, tribal community based, small, coalitions of soldiers, a lot of farmers having to group together. He's going to fucking come for you at some point in his life.
Yeah. So it's exactly like today was, I think, 3 years of we pulled out of Afghanistan. Right. And like last week, they showed all the Taliban members like going down with all of like our shit.
Right.
Those are all kids of the people that I fought when I was over there.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You sure as shit better believe that they're like, fuck those people that came over here. And, those are the kids. So in theory, I
get it. No, Hannah was like, I can't say that I would do that, but I understand what you're trying to tell me.
Let me say it out loud for the listener. Please. In theory, if we would have gone around to the Taliban and killed all of their kids, we would not be dealing with the current Taliban.
Sure.
That's what this story is trying to portray currently. That's cool. Well, excuse me.
I'm glad we didn't do it. And
it's powerful.
It is powerful. And it shows, again, the culture differences of ancient Greece. Those kinds of actions are things that Athene would be like, you're hella clever. It's just heartless clever.
It's long game shit.
Yeah, it's just about the growth of our greatness.
Got it. So, morally and ethically, it's the right decision for them.
For them, if you can stomach it. And if you're so confident that you are right in the conflict, I guess.
Yeah, if it makes everyone feel better, this is a myth.
Yes. Yeah, this didn't happen. Sort of. I think it either happened or shit happened very similar to this.
Versions of it happened.
Yeah, they compiled it. There's too much that's so specific. You're like, fuck, man, this is exactly how it must have happened. We also get here in this moment, Nestor. He starts, because now things are tightening up. Now it's not a home run, right? Because the Trojans got their shit together and they're linking up. So Nestor starts running around to all the Greeks. He's like, you guys have to stop looting. Like, you got to stop looting. We're dying looting. And he says something about, like, focus on winning, because then you can do it at a leisurely pace later. And so he's giving the enlisted guys, the conscripted guys, it's a good like little chiding there. And they take it. So, and I think it shows how much Nestor understands soldiers.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just say don't do it. You say don't do it now, because just wait later on. You won't have to be sweating doing it. You can just do it, and you won't have to wear armor doing it later.
Smart.
Doesn't that sound nice? And that, like, from all the stories you tell me about enlisted, the enlisted like morale of stuff, it's like, if you can make my job easier, I would like that, because you make my job unnecessarily complicated.
Yes,
so like,
absolutely.
I think that's like a universal moment there for an officer.
It's also really interesting to use gear adrift, because even still to this day in the military, they say gear adrift is a gift.
Yep,
that's such a common thing. And then overseas, if you look above over the left here, I traded a Gore-Tex jacket for that with a British soldier, and I had to pay for that later. Like that, that mattered.
Well, and okay, so I bet you guys even do that during conflict. Like, during a conflict, I bet you guys are trading gear and taking gear off stuff. Like,
so I have a really sad story, but yeah, I don't share the story a lot. But yeah, that we were on a convoy, and Sergeant Edwards in my convoy, he died, and when he died, I looked through his backpack, and everyone was like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "We're grabbing shit, dude."
Yeah,
like it's gear, bro. Right. So yeah, it's a thing.
But I imagine that if it started happening too much, your sergeant would be like, "You guys have to stop. You can do this later."
100%.
And so I can totally see the like universality of this, like, as a lesson. Like, let them do it if it's in small dose. And once it's like in a classroom, the behavior's getting out of hand. All right,
yeah,
let's bring it back.
Yeah,
bring
absolutely.
It back. Crazy. I never heard that story from you.
Yeah, actually I took some extra pants of his that I wore on that deployment.
Damn.
Yeah, crazy shit. That's stuff that I put in the back and don't remember until I'm podcasting and talking about deployment.
Okay, so on the Trojan side, we have some like a prince, Helenos, we have Aeneas, we have Hector. And they've like essentially stopped fighting because they're just focusing on morale and rallying and like positioning troops because they're like, if we don't figure this out, we lose right now. They also instruct for some sacrifices of animals, and like a burning of clothes and stuff at altars. Like whatever we can do to try to get things going for us would be great right now. This part's great. This is a Xenia moment, and it's one of my favorite of the whole book. So Xenia, for those that don't remember, is when it's the rules of which that you have as a guest of somebody else's house to receive a guest. So there's rules on both sides. They're very codified. You have to do them in a certain way. And if you do them in a certain way, we didn't talk about this last time, you're like rewarded. It's a big deal if you do them all right. If you're a good guest or a good host.
Pays to win.
Yes. So Diomedes, he's rushing out to fight this new Trojan line. He's like, I got a whole bunch of new guys I get to stab. I'm so excited about this. Like, I fucking stabbed Ares. This day is going off for me. A Trojan runs out to meet him. And then, because it's Homer, they start talking to each other. And they realize that they know each other. And he's like, the other guy, the Trojan, Glaucus, he's like, yo, my dad stayed at your house. I think I stayed at your house as a kid, too. And they went through all the detail about the 5 days that they stayed there and all the rules that they followed and the gifts that they exchanged and stuff. And so Diomedes is like, we're essentially family because we both followed Xenia correctly. And that's how big of a deal it is that like you stayed at my house for a week and you followed all the rules and I followed all the rules. We're essentially like right below blood, which is wild. I didn't realize that's how it worked. And so they were like, we can't fight each other. And they give each other gifts, and then they walk away.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
And it shows because Agamemnon just told Menelaus to not worry about it and just to kill that guy. And so that's what he's
how
talking.
Big Xenia is.
And that's how much Diomedes honors it. And like that's how true he is to following it.
Damn.
I just like that. Okay, we get a little bit universal. Some things never change. Little stories about alcohol and soldiers.
Let's hear it.
I don't even heard about drug use in soldiers before.
I've lived it.
So Hector is talking. I think he's talking with his wife, but they're talking about alcohol, and they're like, "Do you want some before you go back out?"
What kind of booze are we talking here? Wine, probably.
So it's
mead.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about this. So it's like concentrated wine, and you get it like a Greek would have like their little jug of super concentrated wine. And then it's about how much you mix it with water. And so a lot of it is like, you know, the host will say how much water to put in the wine.
So it's hard shit.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you put a lot of water in it.
And that's fine. It's like juice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's just kind of how it works.
Interesting.
And he's talking there like, do you want wine before you go back out to fight? And he says, when a man is worn out, just as you are worn out from fighting to save your fellow, wine greatly augments his strength, was Hector's reply. Bring me no mind-soothing wine, my lady mother, lest you unstring my limbs, and I forget my strength and courage. So she was saying, you should drink wine because it'll make you strong. It'll augment your strength. And he's saying, it soothes your mind too much, and it's going to unstring my limbs.
He'll be too complacent.
Yep.
It'll take him off his edge. Give it, for sure. It'll get you drunk.
It'll get you drunk. And I like that they're both correct.
It's interesting because at first I was like, oh, cool. She's saying, like, you've earned this. Please do this. It'll make you feel better. And he's like, I can't do that. I'm not done yet. And it is definitely a both or like, I can see both sides here.
Absolutely. Maybe like what your position is. You know, like, are you the tip of the phalanx? You should probably drink a little bit of wine.
It's a testament to him, I think.
Yeah, it is.
His
and
personality.
Hector, for being the antagonist, is the shining light of the story, which sucks for him because he's not going to make it.
Yeah.
All right. Before we go into the Hector Paris stuff, so we learn about Hector's spear. I just did a little math because they talk about cubits and stuff. So Hector's spear is like 15 feet long.
It's long.
He just has like, and sometimes he'll throw like an 11-foot spear. Like he just throws big ass spears. Like he's just a monster of a guy, which is cool. So he finds Paris, calls him a bitch, and then leaves. This is great. So remember, Paris is having sex with his wife, and so he's walking around trying to like get supplies. He's making sure all the sacrifices are being done to the gods correctly. He like walks into a room and sees Paris. He's like, "You're a bitch," and walks out. It's so good. But we get Helen. This is the problematic language of Helen. She's talking with Hector, and Hector and Andromache, Hector's wife, are like the only people who are nice to Helen. And she says, "My brother-in-law, I'm a bitch. I'm a horrible mischief maker." You don't gotta say that about yourself, Helen. You're fine.
They really use terms like bitch?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
"I wish that on the same day my mother first bore me a grim blast of the storm wind had carried me off to some mountaintop." Damn.
Midwest emo.
Yep. But she has another great line. "But no, since the gods ordained these troubles, then I wished I'd been bedfellow to a better man who could feel the righteous wrath of his fellows, their manifold insults."
Damn.
I love that line from her.
She said she could be in bed with a better man?
Yeah, a bedfellow. So like the guy she's sleeping with.
Yeah.
I wish that he was a better man.
Yeah.
Because Paris is a bitch. He's the real like horrible person.
Man, that's the ultimate diss, right?
It is.
Yeah, that's fun.
I wish you were a real man.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, that cuts deep.
It does. He kind of deserved it. He did cause this whole war.
I thought everyone would blame Helen.
Most do blame Helen, unfortunately.
Got it. So you're saying that that's just a classic blaming the woman scenario?
Our modern reading of it, we're like, this is clearly the guy who took her's fault.
Okay.
But at the time when you read it, you're like, oh, that's not how we see it, huh?
Yeah.
There is one playwright. Oh, we haven't talked about him. We'll talk about him next time, maybe. But there is one playwright in this time period, a Roman time period, and he does a really good job of like showing the woman's side of it in a good way, like way more compelling than I thought. But he's like the only one for like 1,000 years who does it, which is crazy. Andromache's cool. She's like super strong lady, and she gives us some like strategy and tactic stuff. She's essentially saying like, don't go back out. Why are you guys fighting out there? Come back in. We have a city with a giant wall.
Right.
It's nice.
Yeah.
And she's saying that she wants him to pull back, especially to like the fig tree, because there's a vulnerable part of the wall that's already been attempted to be attacked. Like there is a vulnerable part of the wall that they keep attacking. They've already attacked it 3 times. There's like some siegecraft going on. We should just fortify that spot and then post sentries up around the other spots. And that sounds like pretty good advice from somebody who's scared of fighting people. Me.
So,
I'm scared of fighting.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about one of the characters.
No.
All right, I have a clarifying question here. So we're talking about the city of Troy. We do have water that is on the outside of it, or also the inside?
No, so it's like it's like a bay,
and
then
that's right. It's an isthmus, right?
Yeah,
it like juts out.
Yes.
Okay, so
it backs up to wilderness. Essentially,
but regardless, there's still a wall around the entire thing.
Yes,
ships are not coming in and out. It's not a port city.
No, it's not a port.
It's not a port city.
If it is a port, they'd have to use the river, and so
not a port city.
Not a port city.
Important information.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the rivers are small, I think.
Are they using these bodies of water for the siege?
No. They're farther enough away.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Those are good questions.
Thank you.
All right, then we're going into book 7. But we'll still stay on Hector and his wife for a minute. So, the thing with Hector is that his son is not going to make it in the war either. Because Hector has lines where he says, he looks at his kid and he says, that this, my child, may also become like me, renowned among the Trojans, my equal in strength, and rule with might over Iliad. So one day, claim he's far better than his father. So this idea, I want to be better than the father. is what's going to make Hector's son get killed. Because after Hector gets killed, they're going to have to kill the kid. Because what if the kid grows up and tries to kill the descendants of Achilles?
I wonder what Homer's relationship was like with his dad.
Whoa, that's a good question. Homer was blind.
Was he?
I think so.
Legit?
I mean, as much as we know if he exists or not.
Okay. Yeah, it's just really interesting, the dynamics with fathers and what... Dude, I ask people this every single time that I meet a second or a third or a junior or whatever. Yeah. I always ask, like, is that intense? Like, if you were Kevin Parker the third,
right?
Like, does that...
It would haunt me.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, that's a lot of pressure, correct?
It'd be fun for me, but it would haunt me.
But it's pressure.
Yeah.
If you're
so much pressure.
Bro, you're the third.
Yeah.
The third.
It's like, such a wild thing to name somebody after you right when they're born, because some people, it would not faze them at all. They would not give a fuck.
My cousin Dan Murphy is Daniel Murphy II. He does not identify with that shit at all.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Makes no sense to him.
Isn't that a plot line from The Office?
Tell me.
Andy was supposed to be... He was originally named after his dad, but then they changed it to his younger brother because he fits better. That's a good plot line.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, if I named my son Logan after me, oh my God. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. Okay, so Hector chastises Paris over and over again. Paris, you're a dummy. What are you doing? I wish that you died. I wish that the earth would open up and take you in and just eat you so that I wouldn't have any problems anymore. But then when Paris is finally like, all right, I'll do it. I'll go out. I'll do this stupid shit. Hector turns to him and he gives him this line, and I do love it. He says, look, no one in his right mind would choose to disparage your work in battle. Your courage is not in question. You choose to hang back, not to fight, and it pains me to the quick of my heart when I hear those shaming comments about you from the Trojans, who face much harsh combat on your behalf. So he basically says, you're as brave as any person is. Fighting is fucking crazy with spears and javelins and swords. It's horrible. Everybody knows it's horrible. I'm on the same page as you. It's just that everyone's talking shit and it's starting to like affect our game.
Mm-hmm.
I like that line.
Yeah, it's dope.
It humanizes both of them for me. Like, Paris is not a bitch. He's a guy who's in a war, and he's like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And Hector doesn't want the world to eat him. He understands what his brother's going through, but he has to lead them through, or else they all die, including his son, and he knows that. Changes it a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of weight on them shoulders right now, for sure.
And I'll say it works, because when the battle resumed, Paris is like getting into it. He starts chopping people. He's going after it. He's not weak.
So he got that pep talk.
Yep.
It worked.
Athene and Apollo, they talk, and they're both like, hey, enough bloodshed on both sides. Let's stop this war. So they convince Hector. They like whisper to Hector and just tell him, like, just challenge a guy to single combat, and then the battle can be done for today. Because there's been heavy losses on both sides, and Hector's like, this is good. I like this idea. And I'll read the line because it's pretty fun. So Hector essentially like makes the armies part and just starts shouting as loud as he can. He says, "Hear me out, you Trojans, and you well-grieved Achaeans, while I tell you what the heart in my breast dictates. Our oaths the high-throned son of Kronos has not yet let be fulfilled, but rather has evil in the mind for both sides, until either you capture Troy of the fine ramparts, or else yourselves are brought low by the side of your own seafaring vessels. In your ranks are the best men of all the Achaeans. From then let the one whose spirit impels him to fight me now come forth out of the mass. Be your champion, battle, noble Hector." And then essentially he keeps going, and he's saying, we'll fight. You know, whoever wins, takes the armor, and then we'll just be done for today. We'll give them, but both guys will get funeral rites, because that's really important. And he's like, and the guy who dies will be remembered in song later on, and that's pretty dope, because he'll have his Arete moment.
He'll be immortalized.
Yep. That's pretty fun.
It is pretty fun.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't hate Hector.
No, Hector's cool.
I don't hate him.
You missed a cute moment. He goes down to kiss his son, and the like plumes on his hat scare his son, and his son cries, and then him and his wife laugh.
Oh, that's an enchanted moment.
Yeah, it's really nice.
That's fun. Yeah, I don't hate Hector.
His son gets his like head smashed into a wall.
Like how old is his son?
He's a baby.
Oh.
By Achilles' son.
That's right, his son does die, huh?
Yeah.
And does his wife too?
No. No. We're hitting on third theme of today's episode. So Achilles has a son, Neoptolemus. Neoptolemus, something like that. And there's two ways his stories go, depending on which author you're looking at. Either he's just like a soldier, kind of like Achilles, or he's fucking crazy because he's a demi kind of guy like Achilles, but sociopath level.
Okay.
And so, he might have killed Hector's son badly. He probably killed Priam, who is Hector's dad, the king of Troy, in front of a statue of Zeus. Big no-no. You do not kill people in front of statues of the gods because that's crazy. Why would you dishonor a god?
I want to see a movie about this guy.
Dude, he's wild.
Yeah.
And then he ends up marrying Hector's wife, Andromache. And they have a kid, Molossus. Well, Molossus keeps having kids through the stories until he gives birth to a woman. Now, which famous person do you think this woman gave birth to?
Beowulf.
Oh, that'd be crazy. So, Neoptolemus
Hercules?
No, Olympia.
Oh.
Who gives birth to Alexander the Great.
No shit.
Yeah!
Whoa.
What?
Oh, that's crazy.
What?
Man, dude, there's so many. The lineage stories are crazy.
And so you're like, okay, these story isn't real. Sure, but all these people are tying their family like values to these characters directly. Like, no wonder Alexander the Great sleeping with the shit under his bed. He's like, this is a part of this is my family story.
My lineage. I'm
related to Achilles and Aeneid.
Can you jog my memory? What is Alexander the Great's ethnicity?
It's just like a Greek.
Okay,
like
so
Greek
he's Mediterranean.
Yeah, but Olympus was not. Olympia.
Okay.
His mom. She was like a witch lady.
Yeah, it's more complicated.
It's complicated.
Yeah, for sure. Crazy.
So, crazy stuff. All right. Let's see. All right, so Menelaus wants to fight. He's like, I'll do it. And Agamemnon grabs him again to kind of chastise him. But I like it because it shows just how strong Hector is. He says, you're out of your mind, Menelaus. There's no need for this madness in you. Hold back. For all your distress, don't let mere rivalry drive you to fight a better man. Ugh. You imagine hearing that? And it ends with like, and he is better by far than you.
Ooh.
So he's just like, you're going to die so fast against Hector. It's insane that you would even stand up.
Can you forego the fighting and just surrender?
No, because their culture believes in Arete. Their culture believes in being the best.
Understood.
And it would be such a slight. They would go home and be so sad.
You would be mocking a god, essentially.
And they would know all the Trojans are better than all the Greeks. And they would never be able to live it down. And
so it's not happening.
It's Caesar why he can't back off the Gauls even when it looks hard, like he's not going to win it. Like they can't do it.
Good connection.
There's a bad side to this sword, But anyway, so a couple guys do stand up. They like draw lots. They all put their names in a hat and they like pull out the hat kind of thing. And Ajax gets chosen, Ajax the Greater. And he's pumped. My friends, the lot is mine. I rejoice in my heart, since I'm convinced I shall conquer noble Hector. And later on it says, for I don't think I was born and raised on salami, completely unskilled myself. Salamis. Salamis?
Salamis?
Salamis makes more sense. Salami.
I believe it's Salamis.
But that's cool, right? Because he's already talking about how great that homeland is of be making them skilled soldiers. So directly tied to their lineage. They fight. They both start by grabbing spears and they pull them out at the exact same moment. and they like throw them. I think Hector is going to thrust, and it's going to like stick out the other side of the shield and like almost get Ajax, something like that. But the point bends. Ajax is going to pierce Hector's shield. It's pretty cool. The spear point went clean through, brought his fierce charge to a halt, tore its way into his neck, and the black blood spurted out. Yet not even so did bright helmet Hector yield, but started back, and hefted in one strong hand a rock that lay on the plain, black, jagged, huge, and with it struck Ajax' fearsome sevenfold oxhide shield in the middle, right on the boss, and the bronze re-echoed. In reply, now Ajax heaved up an even bigger rock and whirled and flung it with measureless force in his throw, crushed the shield in with this rock that was with the millstone, and Hector's knees gave way, and he lay stretched on his back, beaten down under his shield, but Apollo quickly raised him.
Everyone's just throwing rocks, bro.
Dude, there's so much rock throwing.
There's a lot of rock throwing, yeah. So when we were doing the totally accurate stuff, and I was like, throwing rocks, you're like, there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of rock throwing.
They be throwing rocks, dude.
But I can see, like, if you're, like, bouncing off each other's shields and stuff, you're like, there's a...
For sure.
Throw something
totally.
at you.
It makes total sense.
Pretty sure I could hit him in the head with this
Yeah. That's going to hurt like a motherfucker.
It hurts so bad.
Oh, my God, dude.
Okay.
That's how they, like, put people to death, bro.
Yes.
Stoning people and shit.
Yes. Okay, but do you know how that fight ends? How do you think that fight ends? This is such like a weird, hard to understand their culture stuff. So remember Arete. It's about greatness. They're having an epic ass fight right now.
So I'm going to guess, mind the listener, I've not read this, that none of them are able to summon the Arete. So they all agree, like, oh, you know what? Since we cannot all like get Arete, that we need to wait until someone can get Arete to like give authenticity to this fight.
Whoa, you're like kind of right. You are right, but I think it's the opposite.
Okay,
they don't. Well, because they don't.
So they're not right.
No, you are though, because it doesn't say Arete in this. Like it only says Arete really for Achilles, but it's implied stuff.
Okay,
they stopped the fight,
right?
But I say it's because they both achieved Arete. They both had this epic ass fight, and they were just going to clash forever.
So would you say that they kind of felt love?
Yeah, no, they exchanged gifts.
Okay, there you go. Okay,
The Xenia thing pops through. Like we both achieved, we're equals. Okay, like here's some silver stuff. Here's like a gold thing I stole from a dead guy. Like
I would love to know what that visually looks
Yes.
like, because storytelling leaves you to have images in your mind of what that looks like, and that's interesting.
It says they parted in friendship.
Dope. I mean, I guess it's kind of like, dude, you know, when I'll use UFC as an example, two UFC fighters hate each other, they fight each other, they're hugging after the fight. Like,
yes,
like
that's the way it should
respecting.
be.
Well, 9 times out of 10 it is.
Yep.
So what is that?
Right.
What is there? I don't know. I mean, there's something to hormones, right?
Yeah.
Like they've done research that when human beings are rubbing all up on each other, you're excreting oxytocin.
Yeah.
Like, so of course you're gonna feel good after you've like been technically not romantically but intimate with a person.
I think too, it's like I always think about it as thankfulness. Like, thank you for making me have to be better.
Why do you think people bow at each other before they fight? It's like it's a respect and gratitude thing. It's interesting. It's cool.
Yeah, it is cool
to see how this culture would tell that story of that aspect, because most cultures do have that.
Yes,
I'd say in the United States we kind of just slap hands and hug.
Right.
Other people bow. These people give gifts. It's cool.
But I can't think of any like Karate Kid kind of American movie that ends with tie. That's the thing that's like unique about it. You know, that's the difference. That's what Tolkien would say to focus on. What's the difference?
Oh, really?
When you're talking about like similarities between like fairy stories and stuff, like, it's about the soup that you make, the differences that you make. And that is a difference.
Yeah.
Like American stories, like I mean, my values, which I imagine are just American values, are just like, no, you have to go till you win or lose.
I'm trying to think here from an officer's perspective, right? So we're in West Point and we're studying this story. And I think that the moral of the story, if I were a professor, if I were you and I was teaching this, I would now kind of go into Yadrang, kind of where how more...
That was kind of a draw.
Dude, there was
a tactical...
there was a huge thing where they were saying there was a mutual respect to each other.
There's so much respect between those two
And correct me
guys.
if I'm wrong, like Halmore went and visited the battles with the opposing side.
Yes, they went to conferences together like 10 years later.
Go. That's fucking incredible.
It is.
So that is the message I'm receiving. Is like, if you guys can look eye to eye to each other.
Dude, they went over minute by minute stuff with each other. Because Halmore, I remember he was talking to General On, and he was like, why didn't you flank me right here? And the guy's like, you had troops. And he's like, I didn't have the troops there. I just pretended like I did. And he said, like, the guy's face, like, he stood on it forever.
Dang.
Like, so, like, there's, like, that. Like, they're literally going over, like,
scenarios. So I say that.
Yeah.
I say it's in the same vein of, if you agree with something someone is saying, don't worry about who's saying it. Worry about the words.
Right.
And I think that it's, like, this is the same kind of thing. It's like, your opponent is giving you the level of respect to fight you, and you're giving them the level of respect to fight them, and you guys should be... That's a form of... It's an agreement.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I like it. And don't violate that. Stop raging.
That's epic.
So, and then because of that, they're able to both agree, like both armies are able to agree, that the next day they're just going to clean bodies.
Sick.
Yeah, and they're just going to hold funeral rites. Funeral rites are really important in this culture.
Wow.
So it's a big deal. And they talk about it. You know, some of the descriptions, it sounds shitty. It sounds like it's a rough day.
Yeah.
They're pretty sad.
Yeah, that's a brutal day.
And like, they're right in front of each other. So like, there's rules, like, don't cry.
What?
Yeah, because they're like, don't cry in front of your...
It's just not reverent, or what?
No, you're just... The other army's staring at you.
Golly.
They're like... You're peeling bodies off of each other. And so, like, there's rules about, like, how to act. Like, hey, we can't fuck up right now either. Like, we can't show a lot of weakness because we got to go kill these guys tomorrow.
Wow.
So, kind of showing you some of the nitty-gritty side of how these ancient wars... Because body, like, removal is an actual big part of, you know, war and battles, and we don't always in the mainstream media cover it, or like, it's a big deal, and there's a lot of, you have to get rid of it right away because it gets very dangerous for your health very quickly.
Oh yeah, no, human beings are not meant to smell dead bodies. Like that's like there's like a biological thing there for sure.
Something bad.
Yes, it's like toxic.
So they have this day without fighting. Nestor has a plan. It says that he's weaving a plan. We get that techne word in there.
Oh.
I wonder what it was in the original Greek that he translated. Interesting. So his plan is to build a barricade around the boats. So he's like, hey, it's actually going to get really bad for us. We just don't realize it yet. But like the Trojans are going to push an advantage on us because they were able to rally last time. It's going to be bad. We need to prepare for it. And so he starts having them build like a wall essentially around the boats. Pretty clever to use that day off to fortify. And in Troy, this guy Antenor, he's trying his best to stop this stupid fight. He's like, I think we should give her back. And the purple cloths that you took.
Yeah.
That would be cool, Paris. Yeah. And Paris is essentially like, his line is so dumb. It's something essentially... I don't like what you're saying anymore. Which
be gone from me.
Yeah. And then he says, my wife I'll not give back, but all the possessions I brought from Argos to our home, all I'm prepared to return and add them from my store. So, again, he called her a possession. Not great.
Yeah, very, very objectifying.
Yeah. But he also was like, I'm not giving her back. I hate him.
Yeah, he's just kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
He's just kind of a whiny little bitch.
None of my bros have to die.
I gotta say, the casting of who plays him in Troy?
Orlando Bloom.
That crushes.
Is really good.
That crushes.
It's really good.
Yeah, he seems pretty effeminate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. So that next morning, Zeus has like this epic thing. He like has this giant scale, and like one side represents the Greeks, one side represents the Trojans, and he starts balancing it, and he weighs for that day how it will go. And then the day is for the Trojans. And so he starts like casting thunderbolts and shit at the Greeks. It's bad for a little bit. So the fight's not going well because there's like thunder, like all the signs are there for that he's favoring the Trojans. So all the Trojans are like, this is the best.
Yeah, they didn't sacrifice enough goats.
Yes. And I think that's how you're supposed to see it, is like the momentum was going their way, and they interpret a sign as like, see this sign saying that we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. Nestor gets in trouble, which is not good because Nestor, I feel, is like the most competent Greek besides Odysseus. Like the reins slip out of his hands. He feels like he's about to die, and Diomedes has to come help him out. So Diomedes like grabs Odysseus, and they have to go like save him, which is a pretty near run thing. So the advance is going. Hector's like unstoppable. They kind of get through the defenses. The defenses were a good idea. It did slow them down, but they're like pushing through. They're getting ready to go in. And there is like one Greek archer that's just laying down foes. So he has like Ajax in front of him with a shield, doing the same kind of setup. So you have some shield guys, and then you have those bows, and this guy is he's wreaking havoc. And he's pretty fun because even like Agamemnon will go up to him and he's like, if you keep doing this, I will give you a wife. And the guy gives he's just like, he's not stopping, he's just shooting. And he essentially tells him like, I was already doing good. I don't need you to give me a fucking reward for doing good.
That's a sick response,
That's such
bro.
a good response.
I don't need your stupid shit.
I'm doing this because I'm doing this, and you
that.
don't need.
It's dope.
It's pretty good.
That is good.
It's good.
I don't want that.
Just to refuse the positive reinforcement.
Yeah, it's dope.
It's such a baller move.
Yeah, that's a fucking. I feel like we all want to do that.
Yes, everyone wants to be that guy. Like, I'm so internally motivated, I don't need any of your shit. I'm not him. I need so much praise all the time, but like it would be nice.
It's like if your
to.
boss goes like, "Hey, I'll give you a fucking gift card to Starbucks if you do the fucking thing after work." And you're like, "I don't need that shit. I'll do it.
Yep.
You're good."
But then you say, "Yeah, I'll take it."
Yeah, then you're like, a frappuccino doesn't sound horrible. Yeah. For sure.
Unfortunate for him, Hector's coming up. So Hector at once leapt down from his gleaming chariot with a terrible shout, scooped up a rock in one hand, and charged straight at this guy, dead set on bringing him down. The guy had drawn from his quiver another bitter arrow, I like that, bitter arrow, and laid it against the bowstring, but bright-helmeted Hector, as the man was pulling back the string, back to his shoulder where the collarbones fixed between the neck and the chest, a fatal spot, hit him right there as he aimed with a jagged rock, snapping the bowstring. His hand went numb at the wrist. He sank on his knees and stayed thus. The bow dropped from his hand.
Damn, they like hit an artery that made his hand go numb.
Yeah,
that's wild.
He like severed all the nerves.
Yeah.
from breaking that collarbone.
That's wild.
Imagine someone like 6'5" dude just like shoving a rock down on you from jumping.
Ow.
That would hurt so bad. No.
I'm thinking of that scene in The Princess Bride where Andre the Giant, he's like picking up the huge rock.
You should not trust men in masks. Okay. So the day's kind of ending. We get here a natural ending to these battles. So the battle is going the way of the Trojans. And if this was modern conflict, the Americans would sweep through. If the Americans are in this story, right? They'd fight through the night. They'd put on their night vision goggles and their infrared, and they'd start lighting things up. They start putting out targets with infrared strobes for helicopters to shoot and shit, right? All the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This is not that. This is ancient warfare, and night fighting in ancient warfare is extremely dangerous, and you just do not do it. You don't do it ever. They just do not fuck with it. I think is so bad for both sides. I think both sides get fucked up every time they try to do it. There are cases of it happening, but this just shows you how scary it is because this is like a home run for Hector right now. Achilles has not shown up. Achilles has not been in this story at all. And they're just like, we can see the ships. And he's like, his plan is to light all the ships on fire. If he lights them on fire, he knows he wins. He knows the morale's going to be done. And then he can actually wait them out because they can't leave. It's just good for him. So what he does is at sunset, he makes all the Trojans essentially camp along this edge here away from the boat. So like they're right on the edge of the barrier that Nestor made.
The wall, yeah.
And they light fires the whole way.
Damn.
So they have that huge forest, right? So
This
they have
is
all this
daytime, correct?
So yeah, it's like
Okay.
sunset-ish.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
this whole thing is lit up, like illuminated, and he's saying it so that no one can run away from him. No one can, if they try to get on the boats, we'll see it because we have this bonfire up that's like miles long, probably.
Yeah, like barricading them in.
Yes, and with enough illumination to where he can see if they try to run away. And all the Trojans and all the conscripted soldiers are all camping on these bonfires for the night. And they're like, as soon as that sun comes up, we're just
That's scary.
Doing it.
That's scary, bro.
Yeah. They're going to fuck them up. Maybe.
Next morning.
So we're going to end on that night because that's the end of book 8.
And that's what we'll pick back up next time on the Iliad. They're camping around some bonfires. Well, that's intense.
Yeah.
How many books total?
Like 24.
Okay.
I have it broken up into some good groupings, some good logical groupings. So this is like the big battle grouping. Lots of fighting. I love the battle language is so tactile. It's so like visual.
I want you to just randomly put a bunch of Homer's lyrics together, and I want us to record a Midwest emo Iliad song.
I like this. This is your best idea.
I feel like you could make a pretty easy riff, and I feel like we could record this in like 30 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna generate a beat.
Nobody asked for it, but it's coming.
Hey, I had one feedback from Greg. I saw Greg today at Costco.
Our
Greg?
Greg?
Yeah, our friend Greg.
Let's go.
Listener. He's always giving me good reviews. He's very nice. But I was asking him, he said he listened to Iliad Part 1. I asked him what he liked about it. And he said, your outrageous accents in the reading, which is really good.
Yeah, they are outrageous.
I like that it's a multicultural take.
It's fluid.
In that you go into multicultures.
It's culturally fluid.
Fluid.
It's kind of, it definitely comes from a lack of ability is what it comes from. It's not talent.
I liked it.
Yeah, I'm glad people enjoyed it. I'm glad people listened to our show.
That's what I was like, man, so nice of you to say.
Thank you if you listen to our show, dude.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. This is literally our dream. What we're doing currently right now, what you're listening to in your ear holes is our dream. So if you want to help out, review our shit, talk about our shit, share it, hit us up, interact with us.
Yep.
We're enjoying doing the Iliad. It's been really fun, especially marketing it. It's been fun learning about all this shit. We appreciate you for listening to us. And until next time, okay.